Today, we will be discussing food sharing in vampire bats, a paper by Gerald G. Carter and Gerald S. Wilkinson. The major focus of this paper regards food sharing and why wild animals would participate in this behavior if survival is such a pressing issue for them. In this study, researchers decided to use vampire bats because they have been observed sharing food with roostmates. Vampire bats only feed on blood and will starve if they fast for more than 70 hours. However, in the wild, bats will intervene by sharing food through regurgitation. This behavior is seen commonly between parents and their children and also between related bats. The researchers wanted to understand why this behavior occurs. Is it evolutionarily advantageous? Is it due to kinship or mistaken kin identity? Is it due to hungry bats harassing other bats until they are fed? Or is it because bats are a selfless, altruistic animal that seeks to maintain the survival of their species? Researchers decided to test this out by marking and grouping about 20 bats from different bloodlines in a large cage. One bat would be selected and removed from the group to fast alone for 24 hours. Its mass was measured after the fasting, before being returned to the cage and its satiated group members, where their interactions were studied for 2 hours. After the observation period ended, the fasted bat was fed. This was repeated between 1 and 6 times for each bat, with researchers paying close attention to mouth licking and specifically who initiated it, the donor bats or the recipient bats, because it seemed to correlate with measured changes in mass. Researchers also paid attention to the amount of regular grooming, meaning in areas other than the mouth, that the bats received. Interestingly, researchers found that the biggest predictor of food sharing was not relatedness or familial ties. Instead, food received, donor sex, and amount of grooming received were all predictors of food sharing. For example, bats that donated more food were more likely to receive more food as well. They also found that donors initiated food sharing more than half the time. However, they did note that highly related pairs engaged in reciprocal sharing that was more symmetrical than unrelated pairs. Specifically, the largest donations were between 4 females and their juvenile or young adult offspring, and in all of these cases, the offspring reciprocated with large donations to the mothers. They also discovered that some potential donor bats rejected begging recipients, but strangely, some recipient bats also appeared to reject food offers from potential donors. On average, fasted bats were fed by about 3 donors, which helped divide the costs of food sharing. Altogether, this study seems to rule out the harassment hypothesis, as donors frequently initiated food sharing. Food sharing also held pretty consistent across groups and over time, which is also consistent with social bonding and correlated with grooming. All of this seems to support the hypothesis that food sharing in vampire bats provides mutual direct fitness benefits and is not explained solely by kin selection or harassment. Thank you for watching.